Hey everybody, Pastor Nick here. Hey, I'm just here to give you a quick update. We live in kind of unprecedented times right now. History is being written. This is something that I'm sure will be talked about in generations to come, is this coronavirus and how we responded to it. And I think as Christians, we're uniquely equipped to respond well to this. Not only responding in faith, but responding in love. I think those are the two big things you want to keep in mind. I think personally for myself and for many of you, we're not necessarily afraid of the coronavirus as far as afraid of contracting it, but I would say our bigger concern is in regard to spreading it. So we want to be careful, we want to be loving, and we want to be thoughtful about the weakest in our midst. I was thinking about this recently, that really caring for the weak and vulnerable in our communities and our societies, this is a calling from God. One of the big themes in the Old Testament prophets is that God cares for the weak and vulnerable, and that we, as the people of God, are called to care for the weak and vulnerable as well. In the Old Testament, there's this thing called the quartet of the vulnerable. It's kind of how theologians, Bible readers, scholars have talked about it throughout history. The quartet of the vulnerable is the poor, the orphans, widows, and immigrants in the Old Testament times, because in that time, in that society, those were the people who were most at risk of, I guess you could say, falling through the cracks, for lack of a better word. They didn't have a lot of the things that we have today to catch us if like we fall, right? Kind of safety net type things. And so what God prescribed was that he prescribed that his people would be those who cared for and looked out for the needs of the most vulnerable. And so I would say in our day and age, especially in our present situation, what we're looking at is that the quartet of the vulnerable would be expanded to include those who are elderly, those who are immune compromised, who have underlying medical conditions. And so I think that, a lot of people talk about this as an issue of faith, and I would say it is, absolutely, but it is more than that. It's also a matter of loving our neighbors. And one of the ways that we can do that is by taking precautions. But hey, I also wanted to touch on something else. Recently I was in Hungary and Ukraine for a little while. And what I was doing there, I was teaching at some conferences, visiting our missionaries that we support as a church at Whitefields, but I was also teaching in some churches. And one of the messages that I taught was one that I had taught here at Whitefields back in January. And it was a message about having God's vision for your situation. And one of the things I talked about in there was that in each situation that, there are unique opportunities. Every situation presents unique challenges, but also provides unique opportunities. And I mentioned the fact that, like, Paul the Apostle was under house arrest. And during his house arrest, he used that unique opportunity of being under house arrest to write 4 epistles, which are now in our New Testaments and have been. And Paul says this incredible phrase there in Philippians chapter 1, where he says, I want you to know that everything that has happened to me has served the furtherance of the gospel. I think that's an incredible phrase, just because if you consider the fact that what is he talking about that happened to him? He's talking about corruption. He's talking about people, accusing him of things. And you consider the fact that this man was a missionary, traveled all over the world, planted churches for many years, and then now he's kind of sidelined, we might say. He's sidelined. He's not able to do that which he had previously been doing, furthering the gospel. Now he's under house arrest. Very much like many of us right now, right? Especially those of us who are quarantined, like myself right now, not really able to leave the house, just out of, respect for precautions and all that. But, think about this. Here's Paul, and he was quarantined. What did he do with his quarantine? He used the quarantine to he saw in it the unique opportunities that he could use for the furtherance of the gospel. And he truly did. He wrote letters during those times that have been read by billions of people over thousands of years and are still being used for the furtherance of the gospel. So I would just challenge us. Let's be praying. Let's be asking God, what are the unique opportunities that this unique time and place in history is giving to us? And let's be praying for those. I think for some of us, just some quick application, I've only been home for 2 days. This is my second day of quarantine. My kids are home from school. And one of the things that we've been doing is, okay, let's not waste this, right? We're home, as opposed to having the kids run off to school and me go off to the office and us all be in different places. We're all together under the same roof. And so one of the things that we've been doing is every morning we've been reading. Currently, we're reading through Proverbs. We'll read through it with the kids as we're having breakfast. We'll go on walks in the afternoon, ride bikes and things like that to get some fresh air. And I would just encourage you that these are unique times, and they give us unique opportunities. So use those opportunities. We live in a crazy busy world, and perhaps God could use this in some of our lives as a huge blessing, a way to slow down, be together, refocus on Him and His Word, the people He's put in our lives, ministering to them. I also want to encourage you guys to be reaching out and staying in touch with people, especially people in the church. One of the things that we're doing in our community group is that we're going to be looking for a messaging service with a Zoom, or we're probably going to end up using WhatsApp, most likely, with our community group. And that'll give us a way to kind of send messages to each other throughout the week, as well as a way for us to have video conference chats in place of our physical meetings. And in my case, that's particularly important because of the quarantine. So I would just encourage you, stay in touch with your community groups and look for ways that you can do that, because I think that this is a time when maybe more than ever we need to be connected and not lose those connections. And I wanted to also tell you this: if you need anything, if you need groceries, if you need toilet paper even, I know that's a kind of a sensitive thing, but hey, it's sold out everywhere. And we've had people contact the church saying, hey, look, I'm not afraid of the virus, but I really need some toilet paper. Hey, we want to help you with that. I know that there are people in our community who have, resources and things like that, meaning that they've stocked up on things. And if you need something, we want to be generous. We want to share. And so please reach out. Email us, info@whitefieldschurch.com, and we will make sure that whatever needs you have, whether it's for groceries or somebody to run an errand for you, or somebody drop something off for you, if you need toilet paper or anything like that, we want to help you. So please reach out. So info@whitefieldschurch.com, or hit us up on any of the social media channels that we're on. We would be happy to connect with you there and help you meet those needs. And I just want to tell you one last thing before I shut this down, is that this coming Sunday, our service is going to go like this. We're going to pre-record our service. That's partly because of the quarantine that both Pastor Mike and I are under. And so we're going to pre-record our service. We're hoping to get our video system set up in the new building so that we'll be able to even use some of that to record. We're going to pre-record the service, and then we're going to send out a link. And then here on Facebook, one of the things you can do is that you can post a video, and you can what you can do is you can host a watch party. And so we're going to be doing watch party on Facebook. We'll be posting a video on YouTube as well. And we'd love for you to gather with your family. I would say the same kind of preparation that you put into coming to church on a Sunday morning, put that same kind of preparation into gathering to watch the service online, just because we live in unique times. And so I would encourage you, get dressed and sit around and participate in the service. And we'll be sending out children's ministry materials as well, so that you can go through those with your kids. And we're hoping that, there's some uncomfortableness with this new situation that we're in right now, but there are so many opportunities and so many blessings. And so I just want to encourage you to be seeking those out, be seeking ways to love and serve your neighbors during this time. And please reach out to the church if there's anything that we can do to help you, whether that's on a spiritual level or whether it's on just a purely physical level. We are here for you. We are a true community. And this is a time for us to be the church. We always say that the church is not a building. Here's our opportunity for us to prove that and live it out. God bless you guys. And I look forward to connecting with you again soon.